Welcome back to our series on Introductory Statistics. I'm Mark Ledbetter. This is lecture video 31, and we are in section 8.2, and this is part 2 of that. Last time, we introduced the concept of estimating mu when we do not know sigma, and if we do not know sigma, then we have to use S to estimate sigma. And we briefly mentioned the degrees of freedom. We'll talk about that a little bit more. I introduced the student's t distribution, and we'll talk more about that as well. So, we talked about when we could use t and when we couldn't. So, if x is normally distributed, then we can use t. Or if n is at least 30, we can use t. In this first one, we only have n is 15, and it doesn't say anything about normal, so no, we cannot use t, and that was the question for these problems. And then the second one, we have n equals 40. It doesn't say anything about normal, but because n is greater than or equal to 30, we can use the t. And in the third one, it does say that the heights of women are normally distributed, so even though n is less than 30, yes, we can use t. So the degrees of freedom are a concept which are quite difficult to explain, but I'm going to try to give you a very general idea of this. So in general, the degrees of freedom are the number of values in the final calculation that are free to vary. What in the world does that mean, right? So x bar is the sum of x over n. So what that means is if we know n minus 1 values, then there's only one value of that last x that we can that it can have in order for us to get the value of x bar that we have. So here, again, that may be a little bit abstract, so let's talk about x bar equals 100. And we have n equals 5 as our sample. And so the first four values, if we know those can be basically anything, but once we know those, the fifth value has to be 96 in this case, in order for the x bar to be a 100. So four of the values can vary. So we have four degrees of freedom here, 4 degrees of freedom, and in order to keep x bar equal to 100. So since 4, we had n equals 5, and 4 degrees of freedom, that's degrees of freedom is n minus 1. And the same goes for our sample standard deviation s. If we know all but the last, so all but the last value can vary, but once we have all of the values, n minus 1 values, that last value is set in order for us to obtain that value of s. Okay, so let's talk about the properties of the t distribution. Its mean is 0, but its standard deviation is greater than 1. It's always greater than 1, so that means that it's larger than the standard normal, and we say that it has thicker tails than the normal distribution. It's bell-shaped, and it's symmetric about the mean, 0. So the degrees of freedom for our test, not always, but for a CI confidence interval, it is n minus 1 degrees of freedom. And so let's take a look at this, and unfortunately my colors didn't come out the way I thought they would when I scanned. So let me clarify this a little bit with the color. Hopefully you can see that the middle line is the blue, and then the line that has the lowest peak is red. And so the standard normal is this has the largest peak here, and notice that its tails are the smallest. In other words, they're the closest to the x-axis here. And if I have a small degrees of freedom, like 3 here, that's the red line, well, it has the thickest tails. They're the highest, or the furthest away from the x-axis there, the horizontal line. And then as I increase the degrees of freedom, here's degrees of freedom 5, the blue line, then the peak gets closer to the standard normal. And we'll notice that the tails get smaller. They go closer to the standard normal as well. And so if I were to increase the degrees of freedom to something else, what I would see is that, say for the purple, it gets closer and closer, to the standard normal. Okay, so as we increase the degrees of freedom, the t distribution approaches the standard normal distribution. Okay. Now, for every different degree of freedom, there is a different t distribution. Each one of these lines down here represents a different distribution. It has the same mean, but it has a different standard deviation. Okay? And so the degrees of freedom, n minus 1, as that increases, the t distribution gets closer and closer to the standard normal distribution, which we say is the z distribution. And so if the degrees of freedom are increasing, then n has to be increasing as well. So as n increases, the t distribution gets closer and closer to the standard normal distribution. Now, something that is true for all continuous probability distributions is that the area under the curve is equal to 1, just like for the standard normal. Okay, so those are the properties of the student's t distribution. Now we want to find critical values. So we need to figure out how to find critical values. So to do that, we need to learn how to read the t-table. I've recreated the t-table here just to make it a little easier. It's in the notes this way. In the table, there are 3 lines at the top, and for Chapter 8, we are going to use just this bottom one for C. We're going to use C here, which is, C is the confidence level. Okay, let me write that a little neater so we can read it. Confidence level. Okay. And so they've already given us that, and that makes it very nice. So the degrees of freedom are coming down this side, and this confidence level is a probability. So that means that what's inside the table here, inside the t-table, in this case, are t-values. So t-values, which is exactly opposite of what we had in the z-table. In the z-table, we had probabilities inside, and the z-scores were outside. Now we have the probabilities on the outside at the top, and the t-scores are inside. And the degrees of freedom, and we have this column for degrees of freedom. So when we look at this, let's find t with so t with c. So c is 0.75, and degrees of freedom, let's say that's 3. Okay. So this number here is telling me that I want this column with 0.750. And then the degrees of freedom here, 3, tells me I want this row. And so this is going to be equal to 1.423. Now, I don't remember the notation that your book uses here, and so I want to try to look that up real quick and make sure that I use that same notation here so that we're consistent throughout the course. And so, okay, so I don't see where they're doing that. All right, so I will use this upper number here as the degrees of freedom, and this will be the confidence level for this, for T sub C. All right, so now let's find another one, T of 29, and that's 29 degrees of freedom, and I want 0.980 as my confidence level. So 0.980, let me clean up a little bit here. And so I want 0.980, that would be here. And then I need 29 degrees of freedom. So that's going to give me 2.462 would be my answer. All right. Let's take a look at the actual t-table from the book. And let me clear all my previous marking here. And so at the top, we have the three lines. And as I said, for chapter 8, we want to use this last line because we're going to be looking for t sub c. And just like with the normal distribution, we have this picture where the area here is c, and if I split this down the middle, this area will be c over 2, and this area will be c over 2. And so we can write this as the probability that t is between negative t sub c, let's call that c, and positive t sub c, that's going to equal c. Okay, so that's the area that's between those two values. Now, let's look at the table over here, and I want to point out a few things very quickly, and that is that when I start looking at degrees of freedom equals 1, that I have these numbers, and as soon as I move to degrees of freedom is 2, look how much these numbers change. I mean, this number changes from 636 down to 31.6, basically. So there's a big jump between 1 degree of freedom and 2 degrees of freedom. So, and the bigger the t-value is, the bigger the confidence interval is going to be. So if we want a smaller confidence interval, which is always desirable, then we want to have a bigger sample size if at all possible. Okay. And so if I take any one of these values, and let's say I choose 0.90, and I keep following this down, notice how the values get smaller and smaller as we keep going down. They keep getting, whoops, that jumped on me. They keep getting smaller and smaller until we get to the bottom. And for infinity here, that is the standard normal distribution. Now, please don't come to this table to get standard normal values. Use your z-table. But I'll point out that this is the same value, and so is this. But this, we have more decimal places in this table, so you don't want to use this table. If you're calculating something, especially on the test, for a z, you want to go to the z table, not this one for z values. You come to this table for t values because it's the t distribution, all right? And so there is a tiny bit of difference between the two for those last numbers there. All right, mainly because we're rounding to 2 decimal places on the other table. So as n increases, the degrees of freedom increases, because here the degrees of freedom equals n minus 1. And as the sample size, or as the degrees of freedom increase, t values get smaller and smaller, and they approach the z value. Okay? So, and the bigger, notice that the more area there is in the middle, the bigger these values get. So as I move from left to right, they get bigger because the amount of area in the middle gets bigger, and so this value of t has to be further out into the tails on each side to have this amount of area or probability in between it. Okay, so that is how we read a t-table. So let's do a few quick examples. And as I mentioned, the probability that t is between negative t sub c and positive t sub c is c. That's the amount in the middle. So I want to use the t-table to find t sub c for a 0.90 confidence level, or a 90% confidence level, for a sample with size n equals 9. So I need t sub 0.90, 8, because degrees of freedom equals n minus 1, that's 9 minus 1, that's 8, not 9, but 8. And so I need to go to the t-table and find 0.9 and 8. And so n equals 8 is here, and then 0.9 is here, so that's a 1.860. 1.860 is my answer. Now, find T sub C for a 95% confidence level. So C is 0.95, and degrees of freedom equals n minus 1, which is 29. So I need T of 29 and 0.950. So 29 is here. And so 29 goes across here, and then 0.9 is the one that I have the bars around. So that's 1.699. So this is 1.699. And the third one is C equals 0.98, N equals 40, find T sub C. So I need T sub with 39 degrees of freedom and 0.980. Remember, degrees of freedom are n minus 1. This is 40 minus 1, which is 39. So 0.980. So 39 and 0.98. So I'm going to clear everything. And so 0.98 is going to be the third one over from that side. And I'm looking for 39. But I have 40, but not 39. 1, 2, 3. So I need to use this value for 35. You say, well, 39 is closer to 40. But the convention for this is that we use the next smallest degrees of freedom. If we can't find the degrees of freedom that we want, we use the next smaller one. So we don't use 40. That's larger than 39. We have to use the smaller one that's closest, and that's going to be 35. So 2.438. So we'll say approximately 2.438. I think that's the right number. Yep, 2.438. And so we have to use this convention here. And it says, if the degrees of freedom needed are not in the table, use the next smaller degree of freedom that is in the table. This will result in a larger value of T sub C and a longer or bigger confidence interval. And so the confidence level, the actual confidence level, is going to be slightly larger than C is. But we're willing to do that than have a smaller confidence level. We don't want to have a smaller confidence level, but we're okay with a little bit bigger confidence level. Okay, so remember to scan your lecture notes before midnight with the date listed on the course calendar. If you have questions, come to virtual office hours. If you can't do that, email me, but send me a picture of your problem so that I can see what the problem is the question being asked, and send me a picture of your work so I can see how you are approaching this, and I will be able to help you with email. So please take care of yourself, and we hope to see you next time.